Good morning, everybody. Welcome. I am Mark Levine, Manhattan Borough President, and I am thrilled to be joined, thank you, thrilled to be joined by this amazing collection of leaders, prominent advocates for good transportation policy, and we'll be hearing from many of them. We're going to be hearing from Kate Slevin of the Regional Plan Association, Betsy Plum from Riders Alliance, Elizabeth Adams from Transportation Alternatives, Dr. Sharon McClellan-Weir from the Center for Independence of the Disabled, Pat McClellan from the New York League of Conservation Voters. We're going to be hearing from several community board leaders. Already here with us is Debbie Nabavian. And also joining us, we're very proud to be joined by Families for Safe Streets, which have been such an important voice for good transportation policy, for safety on our streets. We are here to talk about congestion pricing. If you are a New Yorker who has been late for work because your train was not on time, you need congestion pricing. If you are a New Yorker who can't use your local subway station because it doesn't have an elevator, you need congestion pricing. If you're a New Yorker who has stopped taking the bus because it's running slower than walking speed on your route, you need congestion pricing. If you're a New Yorker who suffers with asthma and is impacted by the choking level of congestion mounting on our streets, you need congestion pricing. If you are a human being worried about climate change, you need congestion pricing. So we have come out here today on the edge of what will be the congestion zone to talk about the policies that we need to ensure that congestion pricing is applied in an effective and a fair and efficient way. You can see right here on East 60th Street, every mode of transportation, private cars, buses, taxis, people on bikes, people on foot, people using wheelchairs. We need a policy that reflects the needs of every mode of transportation. We're here to talk about a system for the congestion charge that will be fair, that will be efficient, that will be effective. We're here to talk about the parallel investments that we need so that as we apply congestion pricing, people who are moving around on the bus, on a bike, on foot, have the fastest and most efficient transportation network they can get. And we also want to make sure that the process that is used to design and apply these policies is itself fair and transparent. And you're going to be hearing from this array of experts and leaders on the different policy planks that we are putting forward today. And I'm just going to mention a few from the highest level. I want to first talk about the way we need to apply the congestion charge, that we want it to be applied in a fair, in an efficient way. And we are calling for a variable charge so that the amount you pay is reduced if you're coming in off-peak. So the amount you pay is reduced if you are leaving off-peak. That doesn't mean you're going to be charged twice for that trip. But we are calling for a variable pricing system that accounts for people who are entering off or on peak and also accounts for when they exit. We call that two-way charging. We want to ensure that smaller vehicles pay a lower congestion fee so that smaller cars pay less than giant SUVs, all of which are, of course, going to pay less than trucks. We want to exempt taxis and for-hire vehicles because they are already paying a $275 per trip fee due to an earlier round of congestion pricing, and we don't believe it would be fair to apply an additional charge. We want to ensure that the price paid is equalized whether you're coming across the East River, one of the East River crossings, or whether you're coming under the Hudson River. So we want to make sure that the tolls that people are paying for the Hudson River tunnels are applied towards the congestion fee so that people cannot toll shop by trying to take a longer trip, for example, across the East River to avoid paying the fee. We want to make sure that people who are who live within the zone and fall under the income threshold, that they don't have to wait for a tax rebate to get the fee back, because that could be a year or more. We want it to be an immediate credit. We're also putting forth good policy to make transportation work for everybody, even beyond the congestion pricing plan. We want buses to go faster in this city, and we are pushing for a simple, compelling policy to do that. We want all-door boarding. We want you to be able to get on the bus in the front door, on the middle door. Thank you so much, Kate. She's not just a policy expert. She's helping us. She's a mom too. We want you to be able to get on the front door, the middle door, the back door, because that will speed up buses. We lose so much time when buses, we call it dwell time, when they're waiting to load passengers. You can speed it up if everyone can use the door of their choice. The MTA's already done the hard part. They've already installed Omni readers at every entrance, every door, front, middle, and back. We just need them to activate those readers. We want to improve bike transportation in New York City by allowing City Bike, by raising the cap on pedal assist bikes in the City Bike system. Currently capped at 20%. We want to see that increased for the benefit of riders and for the system as a whole. And we want to see an acceleration on the plan to redesign the bus network for Manhattan. This is already underway, almost completed in some of the outer boroughs, but Manhattan has not yet started. We want to see this done as quickly as possible so that we have a redesigned network in place for when congestion pricing hits. I'm of course speaking to you as the Manhattan Borough President, and this policy, congestion pricing, is important for the entire region. It will be a benefit to the entire region. It will benefit the economy of the New York City region. It will benefit our environment for the whole region. It will be a benefit for public safety and health. But there also are unique perspectives for Manhattan. The impact here will be unique for people who live in the zone or people who live above the zone. And so we have called for the presence of at least one Manhattanite on the Traffic Mobility Review Board, which will be establishing these policies. And more broadly, in the details of our policy recommendations, you will see an attentiveness to the unique needs of Manhattanites, whether they live in Battery Park City, which is currently outside of the zone, whether they live near the Queensboro Bridge, which sits right on the zone and has some unusual ramps on both sides of the line. We are going to be attentive to the needs of Manhattanites while fighting for the best policy for the region. To talk to you about what this means for the region, I'm going to ask public policy expert and mom extraordinaire, Kate Slevin from the Regional Plan Association, to join us. Thank you so much, Kate. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Kate Slevin, Executive Vice President at Regional Plan Association, and we cover the entire New York City metropolitan area, so northern New Jersey, southwestern Connecticut, Long Island, and the Hudson Valley. And congestion pricing is a win for the entire region, the entire metropolis we have here. It will benefit 23 million residents, basically by improving public transit in the urban core, by making it easier to get around, making it easier to get to jobs, cleaning our air, and improving equity. If you live outside of Manhattan and you work in Manhattan, you're likely to make more money than people in your county who work within their county. So we think this is a fair and equitable policy. The majority of people coming into Manhattan, especially the CBD, are already riding public transit and they are desperate for improvements. So this will really help. I want to just mention that in other cities, in London, in Stockholm, in Singapore, this is proven to improve public transportation by raising money for public transit investment, reducing pollution and greenhouse gas emissions, and reducing traffic congestion. So the congestion you see on the streets every day, it's infuriating. It doesn't have to be that way. We see now in London and other cities, they have managed to curb it, and it's our turn now too to do that. So I want to really applaud the Manhattan Borough President and his team for putting forward thoughtful recommendations that reflect the breadth of the improvements that we need to see to really make this policy effective for everyone. And I especially want to note that variable pricing, it's written in the legislation, but our own studies show that if you charge a little bit more during the busiest times of day and less, or maybe even nothing, during less busy times of day, that will deliver the best traffic improvements and improve speeds in people traveling through Manhattan. I also want to say that investment in bus and bike infrastructure is vital. We need it anyway, and so we absolutely support many of the recommendations that have been put out there to do that. Our bus system is a tremendous asset, and we are not using it to its fullest potential right now. So we need to see some more improvements in the bus system, some more improvements in the bike network as well. And I want to thank everyone who was involved in this and thank the Borough President for gathering us all here together today. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Kate. I want to mention a word on timing. All of us believe that this policy needs to be implemented as quickly as possible, and we are in part raising these important policy issues now because we don't want the fight over these questions to delay us further. We want the EIS done as quickly as possible. We want the traffic mobility, what's the name of that committee? Review Board, thank you. The Traffic Mobility Review Board to be established as quickly as possible. We want this policy in place as quickly as possible. I've been in touch with the federal government about expediting their review as well. Everyone has a role to play, but working through these questions now, the issues we are raising now, will prevent future delays from these difficult questions. Next up, I would like to ask Betsy Plum from the Riders Alliance to join us. Come on up, Betsy.
Thank
Yay,
you.
Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you to the Borough President and his team for convening us today. My name's Betsy Plum. I'm Executive Director of Riders Alliance. We organize subway and bus riders to fight for a more affordable, accessible, frequent, reliable, world-class public transit system. And the only way that we get there is by fixing the subway and having faster, better buses. Certainly, in terms of fixing the subway, the only way we get there is with a program like congestion pricing, which is set to raise the billions of dollars that we need and will help an overwhelming majority of New Yorkers, certainly those who most rely on our subways and buses, those from our outer boroughs, and certainly those that are here in the core of Manhattan. We are very proud of these recommendations. They will put forward the fairness and the equity of this program in congestion pricing. They will allow it to be successful and strong. We believe that our future is built on programs like congestion pricing and on a subway system that works. This was a program that was set to go. It was approved with an overwhelming majority in 2019. We were ready in 2019. We were ready long before 2019. We were ready in 2020, 2021. Here we are in 2022. We're ready to get the show on the road, and we are so excited. Thank you to the Borough President.
Betsy. Thank you so much. All right. Next up, I would like to invite Elizabeth Adams from Transportation Alternatives. Yay.
Morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Thank you for being here today. Thank you to the Borough President. My name is Elizabeth Adams with Transportation Alternatives. We have been in New York for almost 50 years, leading the fight for more equitable, livable streets for us to bike, walk, and transport around our city. We need every tool at our disposal to fight climate change and invest in a public transit-oriented city. And congestion pricing will bring the much-needed change for New Yorkers that we know we have needed and we've been calling for a long time. Our subway system cannot wait any longer. Our buses cannot wait any longer. Subways move millions of people in our city, yet we haven't met the investment need to bring it to the 21st century where we've been waiting for. We know congestion pricing works. We need no more delays, no carve-outs. Thank you again to the Borough President for putting out a comprehensive plan with concrete, strong recommendations. Congestion pricing also isn't only an opportunity to support transportation. And I want to appreciate the Borough President for acknowledging the parallel investments that we need in our city right now. That means investing in our New York City Streets Plan and implementing it in a way that is equitable, that is equal across our city, so that we get our bus systems, that we get our bike lanes and our pedestrian space. As fewer cars enter Manhattan, it is critical that we simultaneously implement our New York City 25 by 25 plan to reduce our car use on our streets 25% by 2025. Dedicating 25% of our car space allows us to reimagine our streetscape for a whole new purpose. Space for people to gather, to play outside with your kids and your family, to explore more green space. It leads to happier and healthier communities. The car-centric status quo of our city is not working, and congestion pricing's implementation will lead to a healthier city for all of us. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much, Elizabeth. I would like to now ask Dr. Sharon McClellan-Weir from the Center for Independence of the Disabled of New York. Can I give you a hand? You can come on up. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much. Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Borough President Levine, for allowing Sydney to be here for this very important discussion. I want to talk about universal design and universal access for accessibility for transportation for both people with disabilities as well as people without disabilities. We need to have a system that incorporates fast and safe train and bus service. As you guys know, the MTA signed a settlement agreement with Sydney and many other advocates trying to fight for elevator access in the subway system. This was done a few weeks ago. In order to get this accomplished, the MTA is depending on congestion pricing to pay for equal access for all New Yorkers to take the subway and bus. Right now, we have a bus system that if a person who's using a wheelchair will get passed. Some of our buses are unable to accommodate wheelchair users accessing the bus independently. That is unacceptable. We know that a bus system can be fixed. A bus system can be a safe way for every New Yorker to get to their destination. It's imperative that we try to fix the problems with our bus and train system. Congestion pricing can help us. And also, when you think of universal design, that is for every single person who may use a stroller, a wheelchair, a suitcase, or any other type of way of mobility. So please, everyone, get a better idea of what's happening in New York City. Think about your city for the next 20, 30 years, for your grandchildren and great-grandchildren. We must get this air clean, and we must find a way of traveling safely to our jobs by using bus and train. Thank you so much, and keep supporting the cause.
All right. Thank you, Dr. McClellan-Weir. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
You're good. Right there. Excellent. All right. Next up, from the New York League of Conservation Voters, Pat McClellan. All right.
Thank you. My name is Pat McClellan. I'm the Policy Director at the New York League of Conservation Voters. Congestion pricing on day one will reduce traffic and raise badly needed revenue for the MTA to make crucial improvements to the public transportation system. But it doesn't have to stand on its own, and in fact, it was not meant to stand on its own. To maximize the benefits of congestion pricing for our city, both to transform Manhattan into a more livable, people-centric place, but also to reduce emissions, to have the greatest benefits for air quality, the greatest benefits for fighting climate change, we need to have other strategies implemented before congestion pricing takes effect. And that means better buses with all-door boarding, better bike lanes, protected bike lanes, and a fully built-out bike network. It means more streets for people, more busways like the 14th Street busway. There are a lot of options that I think the Borough President has done a great job laying out that, coupled with congestion pricing, will really maximize the environmental benefits that we see from this program. So I'm happy to be here, and really wanted to thank and applaud the Borough President for these great recommendations that we hope the state will take heed of. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Pat. All right. So we have formulated these policies in consultation with a task force comprised of a very wide array of leaders, and community boards in Manhattan have been key voices there. We have worked with the transportation chairs of all 12 Manhattan community boards that have really been incredibly important and effective voices in this discussion. We are joined by 3 today. I am very happy that we're joined by Keith Taylor, who is chair of Traffic and Transportation for Community Board 10. Thank you so much, Keith. We are joined by my friend and neighbor uptown, Transportation Chair for Community Board 12, Debbie Nabavian. And we're also joined by someone who will probably be known to many of you for her prominence on transportation issues, Christine Berthet, who chairs the Transportation Committee on CB4. And I think, Christine, we'll have you say a couple of words. Come on up. Thank you so much.
Thank you. So, you know, Manhattan is an island, right? That's the first definition. You have to cross bridges and tunnels to come in. And I'm sure you all have a kitchen, and you all have a kitchen sink. And you know when you close the kitchen sink and you continue to put water in the kitchen sink, at a point of time, it's going to overflow. Well, this is what congestion pricing is all about. Manhattan is too full, there are too many cars, and there is no way to control at which point it's overflowing. It's not hard to understand. Any person who has a kitchen sink gets it. This is what we are talking about. We have to be able to limit the number of cars that come in when the streets and the whole island is overflowing. Some people say just with 10% reduction would make the traffic very reasonable. 10% reduction, it's very small. It's just like, you know, stopping it right above the rim. And I think that's what we need to do, because we don't have the tools right now to stop the traffic, the volume of vehicles coming in when the Manhattan, and all the people who have been before me have described the effect of doing that. In your kitchen, the effect is that it overflows, it's all over the kitchen, you have to work for hours to clean the thing, and sometimes it goes down to the next door neighbor. So that's what we have to prevent. And I hope you understand how simple it is and how basic it is that we should do that. Thank you.
Thank you, Christine. Thank you so much. Okay, so you have heard from community board leaders. You have heard from environmental leaders, transportation leaders, a leader for the disabled. The people of New York City need congestion pricing done, and they need it done right. And that's what our recommendations are about. And now we will open it to Q&A. Yes, please.
I'm curious about the tone of the remarks and sort of the purpose of the event. It's almost as though you're still making the case to the mayor and the governor and the assembly to make congestion pricing a reality. But that already happened. So I'm wondering, who is not hearing what you're saying? What is the intention of who's not getting the message? Is this aimed at the MTA? Because congestion pricing is on its way, is it not?
Congestion pricing is on its way. The timing is not yet certain. All of us want it to be done as soon as possible, and we have delivered that message to the federal government, to the state government, to the city government. But today is really about making sure it's done right. And there are many outstanding questions, some of which we haven't gotten into but are in the letter that we've produced that get a little more technical. This has to be done in a fair way and an efficient way, and we are outlining the policies that are going to be necessary to fulfill that.
And just as a quick follow-up, you talked about the Traffic Mobility Review Board.
Yes.
Shouldn't that board have already been established? At this point, how concerned are you that the MTA and other entities are essentially just stalling indefinitely?
Look, we want the federal government to expedite its portion. We want the Traffic Mobility Review Board to be seated and start its work immediately. We want the environmental review to be done immediately. We're pushing on all of these fronts. But at the same time, it's not too soon to deal with the questions that we're raising today. In fact, if we wait to address these questions, it could cause delay down the line. Yes, Peter. Well, we actually explicitly call for equalization of the cost to enter the zone from whatever direction you're coming from. We don't want people to be able to toll shop by taking a longer trip to an East River crossing instead of a Hudson River crossing. And so we do believe that the cost of the tolls for the tunnels should be credited towards the congestion charge. Now, for crossings that are farther afield, like the GW Bridge or the Whitestone Bridge and other crossings that are in the region, I don't think we explicitly address this in the plan. Personally, I feel that there should be some credit for those tolls, but not the full credit. That's a little bit different than crossing immediately into the zone as you would in the Holland or Lincoln Tunnel. Yes, but they will pay more than they're paying today. And people coming in from other directions will be paying more than they'll be paying today. This will generate revenue. It will reduce congestion, even from New Jersey.
I have a question about
yes.
two of your points. One of them is the two-way tolling. You mentioned it's not a double toll. Can you explain how that works?
Yeah, the idea is that you only pay one toll a day under the system. I think that's actually defined in the law. Maybe someone can tell me. You only pay one charge a day, but we want this to be based on whether you're coming in peak or off-peak, and whether you're leaving peak or off-peak. So someone who drives in at 8 a.m. and leaves at 5:30 p.m., that's peak and peak, so they should pay the most. But someone who comes in at 3 a.m. and leaves at noon, maybe, those are considered off-peak trips in both directions. So both the entry and exit would be accounted for in the price that's set.
And secondly, on the exemptions we have for hire vehicles, couldn't they just roll that over to the riders so we don't make it cheaper for somebody that still takes the car trip to the city?
Rolled over to the riders?
Yeah, just into their pocket.
No, there's already a congestion charge. It's $275 a trip. It probably exceeds what a passenger car would pay already when you consider how many trips are taken today. We're particularly concerned about the health of the yellow taxi industry, and so with all those considerations in mind, we feel that the right thing is to keep the current charge in place, not to add. Yes.
A lot of these things are things that people have talked about before that you're asking for. Reforming e-commerce is actually something you talked about when you were at Borough President.
Right. Yeah.
Streets Master Plan. What are your conversations like with the mayor's office? Because it does seem like the DOT has a lot on its plate already in terms of what it's doing with the master plan for 2022, the things it's working on. I mean, how are you going to get the larger city government to go along with these recommendations?
I know for a fact that the mayor, the transportation commissioner share the goals that we're outlining here today. I know that. They've said it publicly and privately. We want to ensure that these policies are done, that they're done right, and that they're done now. And we have very specific recommendations, for example, on the Streets Master Plan, that for the 2023 version, it take into account the changes that we need and that we expect from congestion pricing. The mayor has actually articulated an interest in reforming how the city deals with all the deliveries, and especially the e-commerce related deliveries. We have specific recommendations in this plan, most of which I did articulate in the campaign last year, creating more dedicated street space for unloading of delivery trucks, transitioning more quickly to alternative vehicles like bikes, like essentially e-bikes that have cargo e-bikes, like creating spaces off street, potentially in garages, where the truck can park and then you can have distribution to smaller vehicles like cargo bikes. We want this done now. And while I do believe that the city shares those goals, we're pushing to make sure they're implemented quickly and correctly.
Mark, right over here.
Oh, yes.
So what is your understanding of where in its process the traffic mobility review board is and can take this input? Where is it in the process?
Unless I'm mistaken, the Transit Review Mobility Board has not yet been constituted, so they're nowhere in the process. So we want the members named, and I'll say again, we want at least one Manhattan person on that board, and many of these decisions are going to have to be worked through by that board, and so the delay in constituting the board only delays the policy making. We want it done as soon as possible. Yes.
The stated purpose of congestion pricing is to improve transit. Do you think that messaging has kind of got lost or forgotten as this process has kind of dragged on? Has it become about the money or who's going to have to pay?
Yes, I want every person who's waiting for a subway train that's not coming to understand that congestion pricing will help fix that. I want every person who's struggling to get in and out of a station because there's no elevator or it's not working to understand that congestion pricing will help fix that. I want every person who's suffering from extremely slow bus service to understand we're proposing a way to fix that. That is key to this messaging. I also want people to look at gridlock on the streets and understand that this plan will help alleviate that. So there's really a double win, and the messaging does need to be better. I'm doing my part, we're all doing our part. The public has to understand this directly impacts their quality of life. Okay, yes. Yes, the MTA has responded with concerns about fare evasion on the buses. Look, right now, if you go into the back door or the middle door, there is no way to pay. There's an Omni reader which is not turned on. So you're giving people a chance to pay in parts of the bus that they didn't already have it. And you do have to have an enforcement system in. What other cities do is they have someone who comes by, and actually we're already doing it on SBS buses, comes by to passengers and checks whether they've paid. So there are ways you can do this that will ensure compliance in a fair way, but will speed up buses by ensuring they spend less time at stops. Okay, thank you all so much. Thank you very much, everybody. Great job. All right.